with the opening serve, and she misses long.
That's one of the 7 sins of serving. You don't want to miss at the beginning of the game. You don't want to miss at the end of the game, after a timeout. And, you know, you can just feel the electricity in here. There's a lot of energy and probably a lot of nerves.
Second to last home match for Wake, but with the Thanksgiving holiday, this time's out to be senior day, and this place is electric tonight. Zoe Barrett feeds the middle on first touch, and that is in. Nice job by Sydney Nolan, the converted outside hitter, now in the middle, stepping in.
An uncharacteristic mistake by Willa in the back, but again, like we mentioned, it's a grudge match. There's a lot of nerves. It's senior night. This game is really important to Wake Forest, making it to the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history. Just a lot going on.
All that on a random Friday night. This makes it fun, and what a good kill in the middle for Sydney Nolan.
Almost a foot dig for Ava Torrance. That would have been fun.
Mabrey Shaffmaster, top 5 in aces in the ACC, goes back to work. And if you're a fan of jump serves, watch that. Good joust won by the setter for Wake Forest, Ryan Baker. First year for Mike Shaw, taking over for longtime great Joe Segula. Mike was the standout at Penn State as a player in national championship, of course, over 25 years ago now. Him and his wife, Sarah, they live in Apex, and Mike has enjoyed this process of developing as a head coach. He did note he talks to Joe about once a month. They keep in touch and trying to learn how to run the show himself as a first-year head coach.
I'm a little biased. Mike was actually my club director when I came into the volleyball club. Just a superb human being.
Mike has spent about 15 years now in the triangle between, Carolina and Triangle Volleyball Club. Because Joe Segula, he'd been a legend 30 years in Carolina. Established a great, him and Jolene Nagel have both established huge programs in the ACC. Baker insistent, feeds Ava Carney, and her first swing is a kill. Carney had 14 in his team's men on Sunday.
Wake Forest definitely ended up lighting it up on Sunday, and I just don't think Carolina was expecting it. When you're up 2 sets to nil on a team, you can kind of relax a little bit, but not in this case, and you know Carolina is going to be on their P's and Q's today.
Nice job killing the block for the outside of UNC. We talk about Shaffmaster so much, and we talk about the middles, but really that right side presence of Ramani Thurman out of Little Rock, Arkansas, that's been important.
Absolutely. Again, both defensively and offensively, because her block really does slow down that offense.
Emilio Gogar is roofed.
Another incredible block.
This is a big moment for fifth-year head coach Randy Smart. Her program is on the doorstep now of an NCAA tournament. And a win tonight for Wake really helps those chances. Carney will help the cause, 2 on the block, her second kill. One of the top recruits for Coach Randy Smart, who spent a decade in Cal State LA and has now built a Wake 4-year run of consistent winning, improved the win record, and reached the postseason last year.
Exactly, and it could be their first 500 season since 2010, which is no easy feat in the ACC.
What a nice effort from Baker to save that ball, and that block goes out off the hand of Foster. Randy noted with this senior class, Ashley Slater, one of those who's been here her entire tenure. It was a bit emotional hearing Randy describe it, but having the 9 total seniors and 4 of them that have been there since day one.
Absolutely, and who knows, we might see all 9 get in tonight, but normally on senior night, you'd like to see all the seniors get in, but I'm not sure if that'll be possible because there's just so many.
That's one of the seniors, Emilio Gogar, the grad transfer out of West Virginia, coming in. And now Ryan Baker, first year running this full offense. Slater will clear it over for Wake. Now Maria Miggins, the high point transfers moved. Nice hands by the freshman Carney.
You really can't get away with tips like that against Carney. There wasn't really a disguise, just big
Barney can touch 10-5, so that's above the basketball rim.
I mean, that's definitely the highest touching player Wake Forest has had in a long time.
There's an ace for Ryan Baker. And an early timeout for Carolina.
Actually, hold on a second. It looks like the refs have issued a sideline warning instead. That didn't cut me off, and I never get caught off.
I mean, everybody seemed to have thought that was going to be a timeout.
Daniel Leake says, hold on, guys. We're going to get back to action.
I know. I saw the team statisticians get up, ready to talk about stats.
Race to 25, win by 2 in each set. As Amani Foster hits it offhand. She was electric with 19 kills when these teams met on Sunday. Now Foster blasts one down line.
That's a doozy. That's going to be really tough to defend, and Wake Forest is gonna need to find a way to cover that line. I see Coach talking to the block a little bit, was not too happy with how much line they gave on her, but with an outside hitter as talented and athletic as Foster, you really can't leave that much open.
Foster hit 360 when these teams met in Chapel Hill. It's been a big year for Amani. Coming from UNC Charlotte, she was All-Conference USA last year. And now developing. Mike Shaw noted her vocal ability has stepped up, her leadership in that regard. That circles into the game for 8:40. Haley, how do you, and I realize you didn't transfer in, but as a player, when you do come in, you're in a new situation, how do you find that confidence as a player?
It's hard. It has to be intrinsic. You can't look to your coach or your teammates to give you that confidence. You just kind of have to know that you're the best, even if that's a lie to yourself. You have to feel like you're the best person out there. What a pass and service.
Slater blasts one to the floor. This is her 82nd match of Wake. Nice swing there.
Let's take a look at that pass. It was immaculate by Willett. But I'm not surprised. You know, she had her tenure as libero and now defensive specialist at Wake Forest. Incredibly talented.
There was a run 2 years ago where Willett was third in the league in DIB. She's still high in the conference. And Slater touches it off the corner right UNC.
I'm still seeing a lot of nervous mistakes. I feel like, you know, when you're early in the set, you're seeing a lot of mistakes or just weird things falling like that. A lot of times it's just those built up nerves. So I feel like, yes, we're very point-for-point volleyball right now, but I feel like the level of play we're going to see and the length of rallies are going to start extending.
Baker from the 10-foot line. It's Paige Crawford from Queensland from the back row. Hands at the net. Barrett with a nice save. And the overpass is put away by Paige Crawford, who entered this match at 3.5 kills per set.
Poor Sydney Nolan tried to put a hand on that overpass, but you have to put the overpasses away. They would always tell us in practice, you know, don't go up to swing on an overpass unless you're going to put it away. So you pretty much know if they're going up, it's going down.
Crawford had a season-high 51 attempts on Sunday. And Randy Smarks noted that mental and physical load is hanging a bit on Crawford. That shot goes out. Well, there was a touch of the net. The R2 comes in and calls it, so Crawford touched it last. Point UNC.
And it looks like no challenge by Randy Smart. She's been really on her challenges this year. Let's take a look. Yeah, definitely some finger action.
That's the battle, the micro touches of the net. Foster right in the middle, scooped up. And the block of Carolina. Big hands from Romani Thurman for the roof. And no one combines with it.
And as we were talking about before the match, Kevin, Sydney Nolan was an outside, converted to a middle. She's a freshman, hasn't played middle since her sophomore year of high school.
That's
So it's so impressive.
Wow. Nice break for Olivia Frankie, who gets a kill on her senior night.
And I don't think that's going to be her last. But again, Wake Forest is really going to want to establish her heat early, because when you're able to establish the middle early, you're opening up your paint so that Slater or whoever else is out there can be even more efficient with maybe some more one-on-one blocking opportunities.
Wake enters this match 8th in the ACC in hit percentage. So Barrett had to save that. It's a bump set from the libero, and Thurman blasts one wide. There was a net touch there on Wake. This set goes back and forth, 12-11.
Looks like they called it on Ava Carney. Let's take another look.
Down the Wake.
Yep. Unfortunate.
That's three mental mistakes there for Wake early.
Yes. Unfortunate to see mental mistakes, those unforced errors, especially in a close matchup like this.
Crawford from the back row is dug out. So Maddie May into bump set. And Foster's got a live arm. Nice save by Emma Farrell, the all-conference defender. Foster is on a swinging spree.
If you're Wake Forest, you need to find a remedy for that very quickly. Let's take another look at that dig.
That's one remedy.
That's one remedy. But for that line shot, Wake Forest has not figured out how to both close that block and close off the line. You can't let Foster just have all that distance.
Foster gets another swing and throws it over. And 1,000 career kills at Charlotte. And the campfire is open for Ryan Baker.
That is not a shot Carolina wants Wake Forest to establish in the first set. We always said once the setter dumps on you, they're going to do it over and over and over again. And then the rest of the game, you have to be locked into that base position.
Baker's used that dump a bunch, 41 times this year. Just over 2 per match. Foster returns, tips. There's Gogar on the slide. A nice kill down the line. Emmy with her second point of the match.
I love seeing Baker really open up that net early and using the full net to her advantage.
93rd career match for Olivia Frankie tonight. And she's in with the net. It was interesting talking to Randy Smart. A lot of these seniors now with COVID have opportunities to redshirt, use that fifth year. Frankie is one they hope will come back. They love her productivity here after not playing as much in 22.
Exactly. She has a lot of grit because she wasn't playing as much at the beginning of the season either. And that can be really hard on your pride as a senior. And she did what she needed to do. She went out and played really well and now is a critical part of this starting lineup.
This is Anita Babbitt, who grew up in Serbia, moved to Arizona as a middle schooler. There's Babbitt able to save it. And Foster's tipped. Busy first set for Amani Foster. Gets a third swing and goes lefty. Wake's middles terminate. That's a Gogar, leading us to the media timeout. Back and forth in this first set. 14. Now for Wake Forest, final 2 weeks of the regular season. This will continue what has been the best year under Randy Smart's tenure. Last season, the 8-10 mark, and Coach Smart said, we want to finish top 8. That's all in front of Wake in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. This has already been such an exciting season for them, and we can kind of see these different conference finishes. We obviously don't know how it's going to pan out this year, but it's very realistic that they could win out the remainder of their schedule. It looks like they have, obviously, UNC today, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, Boston College, and all of this is going to be critical for them potentially making it to the NCAA tournament. The only problem is, even though their RPI is 33rd, it's going to continue to go down because the teams that they're playing have lower RPIs.
To that point, Carolina 111 entering this match.
So it's strange when even getting a win lowers your RPI, but it does happen like that.
There's Maria Miggins, the high point transfer. And Carney just takes a rip from the right side. Good first set, 3 kills on 10 swings for Carney.
We've been talking a lot about seniors tonight. I know they're losing 9 seniors, but having freshmen like Ava Carney really just gives hope and breathes life into the program for sure, and gives it, a bright future.
Wake Forest lineup is a PB&J sandwich. It's 9 upperclassmen, and there's Amani Foster, a grad senior herself, combined with 4 really productive underclassmen with Farrell and Crawford. You mentioned Carney. It's a unique combo of veterans and youth.
Absolutely. And those veterans and even the people on the bench who we don't get to see play are all critical in helping those freshmen catch up because the pace of college play is significantly faster than high school.
Slater goes off hands and gets the kill. You'll see the right side for Wake with 3 kills running. Think back to that 5th set on Sunday. There were 11 ties and 6 lead changes. Well, that hasn't stopped at all. You translate 5 minutes later, and we're seeing the exact same thing.
I'm not overly surprised. I'm not overly surprised to see that, in all honesty. I am surprised by all these missed serves, though.
That's 3 for Wake in this first set.
You typically don't want any more than 2 per set. Is normally kind of the threshold. You don't want to be giving up that many unforced errors, even if it's not the opponent's best serve. Sometimes you just want to get it in there so that you give your team a chance to play it out.
Louisville, the best serving team by percentage in the ACC. And Louisville might be able to benefit now from the Georgia Tech loss after Georgia Tech beat Louisville last week. Pitt just swept Georgia Tech. And we weren't ready for play. Looks like they'll do a redo.
I always thought that was a funky rule. If you served early, you get a redo, even if you were to miss that serve or anything.
So Marissa Meyerhofer says thank you very much. And delivers a dime to Farrell. What a big rip by Paige Crawford. There was a net touch as well.
Double point action. And we see Frankie's back up. Let's take a look at that awesome swing. I love when Wake Forest, or really any team, is able to get a great dig, out of transition kill is insanely difficult. But when it's done right, it's beautiful.
Crawford's hit under 200 in the last 5 ACC matches. And Randy Smart's noted it's been a challenge for her to score against good blocks. Going right back to the middle, and that's been a good find. Frankie over the 3rd kill.
Frankie really starting to line up this match a bit. That'll be a timeout from Carolina. With good reason, they need to figure out the remedy for Frankie, who really just has a ton of shots in her arsenal.
Olivia Franklin and at Pitt, top 10 team in the country, which makes these next 2 home matches tonight and Boston College must-wins if you win.
Absolutely. Wake Forest has to be insanely locked in, and that's what's really difficult. Even though this year Carolina is not one of the top teams in the conference, you have to be just as locked in. You don't really get to just slide through any games in the ACC.
Emma Farrell with the float serve out of the timeout. And Mabrey Shaffmaster goes to work. One of the best in the ACC. 3.5 kills a set for Mabrey.
She's been fantastic this season and last, really. I know Evan and I covered her when she played against Duke. And this is another one of those rival matches. Perhaps not the same kind of rivalry as Duke-Carolina, but
when you put the Big Four in an equation.
When you put any of the Big Four in the equation, and then you add that they're coming off a loss just days apart from one another, and it's senior night, and this could take Wake Forest out of the tournament. But it looks like we have some discrepancy here on the court.
Wake is claiming there was a net or tip at the net.
And that might be a challenge, but I don't see the green card in Randy's hand.
Randy getting an explanation from the R2, Michael O'Connor.
I see her asking the team.
And both line judges had different calls. One had touch, one had no touch.
And you'll normally go with the one that has the touch in that reference.
So Randy testing the Velcro.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, the Velcro works.
The Velcro works, all right.
We got a challenge. Now you got to rip it off.
I know, it's very dramatic. I like it.
That's where you pull all your hair off. You're doing like a waxing essay. But let's see here.
Let's take a look. We have a couple of different angles.
Is that left finger there?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That pinky finger?
This is going to be a critical look, too. I would say yes. I don't think Nolan's anywhere near it. I think it's Shaffmaster's left hand. So, again, the initial ruling is that Wake Forest hit the ball out. Randy Smart has now challenged it to say that there was a touch off of Shaffmaster's hand.
Each coach gets 2 challenges. You win, you keep the challenge. And if it goes 5, like it did Sunday, you earn an additional challenge.
Exactly. And new rule, you don't burn that challenge if you were right. So it used to be if you use that challenge, win, lose, or draw on the challenge, you lost it. But now you get to keep it. In every game that I've covered for Coach Smart, She's won almost all of her challenges. I'm pretty impressed. She's normally pretty frugal with pulling out the green card.
Gives you a sense of how important this moment is in set one.
And look at the bench is getting everybody riled up. But let's take a look at this different angle. That one was harder to tell. I would say on that angle it actually looked like no touch.
A touch is ruled. Point Wake Forest.
So that will be an adjustment on the score.
Off of Shaffmaster.
So it should be 2017 in Wake Forest's favor.
And you see Randy Smart there. She's having a fun word with Michael O'Connor.
I know she told Ashley Slater, good job. I also love the energy from the Wake Forest bench. I know I mentioned how impactful the players who don't necessarily get a lot of court time are. They're there every day in practice. They're there at every lift. They're here during the games, getting the crowd riled up.
And right in the middle of those cheers is Annabelle Daly, who is one of the 9 seniors honored today, number 6 out of LA. And her family is here in droves.
I know. I have seen more Annabelle Daly apparel in front of the whole family section is sitting right in front of us. They have the big heads of everybody. She's got her whole family here. And it's just really a testament to their character to be really, truly rooting for your teammates and just being a great teammate in person.
Nice dig by Emma Farrell. UNC, a lot of bump sets in this rotation. David Torrance checked in, just dug that out. And Crawford is blocked. Nice hands by Nolan, the middle out of Florence, Kentucky.
I think Carolina is starting to do a really good job out of system. Like you mentioned, a lot of bump sets. Let's take a look at that dig by Farrell. Incredible placement. And we'll take a look at that absolute stuff block. Oh.
There's an overpass that Torrance scoops out. Nice kill from Crawford down line. So Paige has 3 kills in this first set.
That's kind of a bonus dig for Torrance. You know, typically when there's an overpass, if you can dig up whatever they're putting at you, it's just kind of gravy at that point. She's done a great job. And right now is another one of those power defensive lineups for Wake Forest with both Farrell and Torrance in the back.
That serve goes out. And now UNC is back within 2. And will rotate in Sadie Swift in the middle. Big arms in this rotation with also Shaffmaster in the back.
Absolutely, and they will feed Shaffmaster wherever she is. She's gotten a lot of help, clearly. The offense has really expanded for Carolina from last year to this year. Ooh, that was right on the line.
That's an ace. Good serve by Maddie May out of Winterville.
Great serve.
She was teammates with Kaya Merkler, who's been out with an injury the last 2 weeks. They played at Triangle Volleyball Club together in high school. Frankie on the slide. Blasts one into May.
What a dig.
I know as a former back row player, you love that.
I do. I like to give some kudos. And Maddie May is a tall libero DS. She's a roster 5'10". I always say a roster 5'10" because I feel like...
What were you rostered at?
They rostered me at 5'7". Is that not ridiculous?
Bless your heart.
I know, bless my... For those of you at home, I am not 5'7". I had to prepare my husband when he met me. I was like, I know you saw my roster height. I was like, when you meet me in person, I'm letting you know I am not 5'7".
With Haley Brooke Weiss, I'm Evan Budrovich. Listed 6'3". Depends on my posture for the day.
But a 5'10" libero. Liberos are definitely trending a little bit taller.
Nice kill by Foster. We got a 1-point set all of a sudden.
I would be really shocked if this match goes in 3 sets to either direction. Perhaps to the dismay of either team, but I don't really see this being a sweep situation for anybody.
Wake 1 and 4 last year when these teams met. Wake 1 and 5 back on Sunday. And they've split the last 8 meetings otherwise. Carney takes a rip and hits hands. So Wake's 2 points from the set. And the offenses have been stellar tonight. 360 for Wake, 310 for Carolina early.
It's been a great match. It's not one of those sets where it's like, oh, one team's just not playing well. Both are playing really great volleyball. And we can see Mike Shaw for Carolina has called a timeout. Absolutely. They have been an incredible duo. The only problem is or it's partially a good thing. They're not in the front row at the same time, so you're getting that continual balance. But at the same time, because they're not in the front row at the same time, the opponents always kind of know who's going to get the ball, right? If Shaffmaster, so it looks like Shaffmaster is in the back row right now, Foster's in the front row, you kind of know who's going to get the ball in a pinch.
This is a pinch, 2-point difference, set 1. And Baker hits it off the tape. Set point, Wake.
Unlucky serve for Carolina. Nothing they can really do about that, but certainly exciting for the Demon Deacons.
Set point, Wake Forest. Foster is blocked out, and the set continues. Slater thought it was in.
And like we talked about, they're going to feed Foster in a pinch. So you can see just barely out, but Slater just hasn't been able to quite figure her out. I wouldn't be surprised if Randy Smart mixed it up a little bit.
To swing for the set. Carney blasts set 1, and the Demon Deacons hit 360 in a set 1 victory.
That was some really impressive volleyball by both teams. I don't think this is going to be
Ava Torrance, the Big Ten transfer, will come in. A nice service. Both teams at over 330 in that first set. Highly offensive. And Crawford tools the block for the first point.
I got to say, Ava Torrance has been quietly keeping Wake Forest in check. Her defense today has been really spectacular. You expect it from your libero, right? But to have your right back also be really solid is so impressive.
Randy Smart's noted her communication is huge on our back line, as that shot is way out. There was a touch of the net, and UNC gets on the board with Shaffmaster.
Olivia Frankie was trying to sell it. She's saying no touch. So it looks like Randy's going to go for the card.
How about this in the second point of the set? Haley, what does that say about a coach when you're using a challenge right off the top?
Because you know how imperative these points are going to be. Yes, it's 1-1 now, but as we've seen, the pendulum of these games can turn really quickly. So here we go with the challenge.
And this time, Randy didn't even mess with the Velcro.
No, she's not
playing. The card on the side.
She's not playing around. So we'll look at a couple angles here. That looks like no touch.
I didn't see Frankie, unless Baker got a hand on that.
Normally that angle's hard to see, though. This is going to be the pivotal angle, and I don't see the touch. Looked at her player in the eyes and said, "Did you touch it? Yes or no? This is not the time to lie." And she said no touch.
Two players lie about it.
Not to the coach. You might look at the up rep and fake it or whatever, but then once the coach asks, "Hey, should I use my challenge?" If you tell them to use the challenge and you did touch it, you're going to have a pretty angry coach. So it's not really strategically in your favor to lie to your coach.
I wish I was a lip reader because Jake Hong is delivering an essay there to Olivia Frankie. It was a good conversation, but he was the expression.
I love the animation.
There's Jake off to the left, and his wife Becky on staff.
They're an awesome duo. They were over at High Point before, so I wonder if they're familiar with some of these High Point transfers. Wake Forest is waiting in several High Point transfers this year who have been really electric to the ACC.
Including Maria Miggins tonight.
Yes.
And of course, Sydney Palazzolo of Notre Dame, maybe a first-team all-conference player this year.
Just really impressive, so I'm curious.
And the High Point public address announcer is Joe Christie. He's now at Wake. So High Point's going everywhere.
Yeah, High Point's going everywhere, but High Point.
That is ruled out, no touch. Randy Smart is 2 for 2 if we're counting at home.
I tell you, she's good with her challenges. But sometimes, coaches use them strategically because you only get 2 timeouts per set, so use your challenges. It's like getting 2 more.
And on Sunday, there were 8 combined challenges. The coaches were 7 for 8.
I mean, that's kind of on the refs at some point.
Good week to be a coach.
Somebody should be talking to the refs. Can we also look at the insane amount of people trying to file into the gym right now, which is why it looks like the down ref's he was not too happy about some of the people. But
it's a packed house.
It's packed. And there's people who will be waiting outside for their turn to be able to come in once some people come out.
That's a service error after the long timeout for the challenge.
I know. I hate that. Your coach works so hard, everybody works so hard to get the challenge, and a missed serve. That's tough.
Literally standing room only in Winston-Salem. This is an epic night.
It's awesome. And right here, I would say, is probably one of the best serve receives in the ACC from Wake Forest.
Foster, a little off balance, gets that over. Crawford with a deep touch and a net violation on UNC at the net. So a point for Crawford. Thurman touched the net.
I was pretty confident Wake Forest was going to get out of that. I mean, with Torrance, Farrell, and Willett in your serve receive, you know, any one of those women could be standout liberos at any schools. You know, it's just a really impressive back line.
Paige Crawford, who is third in total kills in the ACC behind Ava Broussard of NC State. He is kept up.
Alive.
Good effort by
What
Farrell.
a play.
Foster will test that defense again, and Torrance fights it back. Carney takes a rip.
An electric swing by Carney after a scrappy play by the Deacons.
That is an incredible rally by Wake Forest.
That's got to be play of the game.
Look at the pancakes. And that's going to cause, I didn't even see if it was a challenge or a timeout by Carolina. I would imagine it looks like it might be a challenge as the down ref is looking at the camera. I bet you he's trying to see if
Farrell's pancake was really a pancake.
Was it a pancake or a waffle? Pardon the food pun.
I know.
But that is a critical point in the play, because otherwise it's all dead and UNC gets the point.
And there's just a big difference between 1-4 or 2-3.
Let's go back to breakfast. Oh, did that hit the court and then bounce back up?
Oh, I can't believe Frankie got low that fast to get it up. Frankie's tall. For those of you at home, she's 6'4". So to drop it to about a foot off the ground is incredibly athletic. But I don't know. It did.
The angle to me looked like it went down and then up.
It did. But it's tough. That angle's so deceiving as well. But they have more angles that they're reviewing. We can kind of see him flipping through.
There are IP cameras all over this gym that are separate than what you see on the stream. And you kind of get the angle there of what Michael O'Connor's looking at.
I'm going with Wake Forest is definitely going to have the momentum the rest of this set if they come away victorious with this challenge. I just think this is an incredibly important challenge. Okay, let's see here. Now that looks up. It's like she knuckled it on the way down, kind of.
Maybe it hit deeper in her hand than at the fingers. Okay, here's the decision.
I'm excited to see this one. The bench has the crowd going again. That's Deeks. Oh,
The call stands. Not confirmed, but stands.
So it's inconclusive. Which for inconclusive, I feel like they should do replays on that if somebody can't tell. But
So you want the tennis style where they put the thing on the video board and everyone watches the dramatic and seeing where the ball magnet hits.
I'm all for the drama.
UNC down to one challenge remaining unless this goes 5. Foster a bit off balance in the second set. Mistimes her jump, and Frankie blasts one on the slide. What has Wake done to adjust their offense in set 2?
I don't know if they've done a whole lot to adjust their offense as much as they've just controlled the match. They've controlled the ball in serve receive. They've controlled the ball in defense. They're playing scrappy volleyball, but still clean volleyball. They're just, aside from that missed serve, they're just doing everything really right now.
Which makes these next 5 to 10 points crucial for Carolina. Had control of set 1 and watched Wake pull all the way back to win 25-22. Ryan Baker insisting, goes to the dump. There's a net touch on Carney.
A little bit more.
And Mike Shaw was very complimentary of Arani Thurman, developing as that right side, the complementary hitter to Foster. UNC has struggled all year finding the correct right side. Carney takes a blast, off hands.
I actually don't think that was a block.
And Frankie in system collects another kill. She has 4 today.
I don't think that cleared the tape, but it must have, or they wouldn't call a challenge. But I think right now, let's take a look.
Oh yeah, off the white armband.
Yes,
which looks like the white tape.
It caught me for a second. I was like, I didn't really think that was. See, if a ball was hitting me in my forearm, I would know it was in the net.
There's a good block by Carney and a point for Wake Forest. UNC in set 1 hit over 330 in the second set, now a negative hit percentage.
It really starts with Zoe. I think what we're seeing from her is really a lack of distribution. We can see that Foster has 18 attempts, Romani has 8, Sydney Nolan has 4, everybody else has... Oh,
Foster.
Yeah, and another error.
Timeout for UNC. Wake Forest, Mabrey's carried a lot of the load coming into tonight, but not as much here in the first 2 sets.
Exactly. In the first 2 sets, she's only had 4 total attempts, and she's hitting a negative 250. I'm just really shocked that she's not getting the ball more.
Playing more in the back row in early rotations. That'll leave Foster, who has 20 attacks, adds her 7th kill.
That was a tricky set. Ogogar jumped way early on that, leaving really an open net. And you can't give Foster an open net. You don't even want to give her a single block.
Foster was electric on Sunday. 19 kills in that battle, back and forth, as Miggins serves one to the net. Miggins is the lone graduating senior for Carolina, so on paper, everyone comes back next year for Mike Shaw.
Definitely helpful for the rebuild, for sure.
Barring a miracle, Carolina will not make the NCAA tournament for the 4th straight year. Wake Forest has never made the NCAAs, and that is all in the conversation as Foster hits one off hands for the point.
Paige Crawford at 6 foot still couldn't quite reach that one.
Her leap there was a bit vertically challenged. I think she mistimed it more than anything else.
It was tough. Playing defense off the block is honestly really difficult. The ball changes direction so quickly.
There's a good dump down. Shaffmaster heating up. You were calling for it, Haley. An overpass with the 2nd kill.
I'm telling you, and that's such a little confidence booster for her. She hasn't gotten to touch the ball a lot. She has 3 digs. You know, I guess if they call that an attempt, maybe touch the ball 7-8 times this whole game.
Now Shaffmaster's an option. Instead, the back set. And kept up by Carolina.
What a play.
Babick saved it. Babick tried that one and couldn't get to it. A point on the outside for Carney.
Couldn't get it twice.
What a nice first 2 sets for Ava as she subs out. 7 kills on 15 swings.
She's done a great job, and I'm not overly surprised as she's really grown into her own, even though she's a freshman. She doesn't play like a freshman. She doesn't play timid or afraid. Last
season, Wake Forest had the freshman of the year on the back row and Emma Farrell. There's a chance now for back-to-back years with all freshman standouts. And an ace will help the cause for Willick.
Absolutely. Carolina falling apart a little bit. Normally, the kiss of death for a team is losing a big momentum play, and then you start to see little breakdowns, getting aced, tips drop, setter dump drops, things like that.
Babick gets a tight set. Shaffmaster is roofed. You don't see that very often in the ACC. Good hands by Wake Forest.
Yeah, Shaffmaster typically has a really impressive arsenal of swings. Let's take a look.
Well, that's 1v1. Good stuff block for Slater.
Great job by Slater. And what I really like is it looks like Randy Smart flipped the rotation starting this set. And I think that it's just a much better lineup for the Demon Deacons.
Farrell bump sets this to Slater.
Lots of tipping.
A joust battle won by Ogogar.
Tip, 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 tip.
Felt more like a boxing match than anything else, but that punch goes down for Wake.
You can see, again, Carolina taking that extra minute in the huddle between the points. It's little things like that. They're definitely frustrated. I know that can make me very frustrated. A 4-0 scoring run is not a good feeling.
Deep serve to Foster. And Shaffmaster rises up. First team all ACC last year. That's a promising swing.
That's going to be a big point for Carolina. We can see another look, kind of mixing it up she does a great job with those inside-out swings. They might want to start purposely running her on that. And now we have Maddie May behind the service line. She's been great tonight for the Tar Heels.
There's an overpass and easily put to the floor. Sydney Nolan is taking advantage of some rake mistakes.
Odd number of overpasses tonight. I feel like every team is just trying to be so perfect, so aggressive, especially when you're at Wake Forest. You have tall, athletic setters.
There's a deep serve that causes trouble. Crawford clears it over. UNC now in system. Crawford's turn. That does touch hands. So a kill for Paige Crawford. She has 6. And that's a hard swing down line into a double play.
You're not going to get the dig on that if you're Carolina. Your best hope is to stuff her at the net or funnel her to where you want to go. But that's really the danger. You really either want to leave no line at all or a pretty good chunk of line so that your defense can align. But if you only leave 4 or 5 inches, you're in Tool City.
What a swing by Maria Miggins.
So hitting a 143, nothing crazy.
And that's a wide open net, too.
But again, seeing better distribution is really pivotal.
That's the challenge for Barrett in the middle. Wake has feed the middles a ton. And Frankie continues a hot start. 5 kills for Olivia. Frankie, who had her breakout moment at the start of ACC play in the Clemson and Georgia Tech weekend, is now a staple in the lineup. But she wasn't playing a ton of rotations in the first month.
No. But again, you work hard for your role, and you earn it. And that's exactly what she did. Oh, miscommunication. Another miscommunication.
Barrett runs the offense back set. Longest rally of the second set. Baker finds Crawford, and that touch finds the floor.
That was a play of so many mistimed swings. We can see that even this tip was funky. Everything was funky. I mean, really, Shaffmaster should have been crashing in on that as well.
Timeout for Carolina. And Wake Forest has leaned on a balanced lineup tonight. Maybe most
incredible line shot. She can absolutely rip the 5-6 seam, and she can hit cross. You kind of start to figure that out, and you're sitting pretty.
After these two are in an absolute dogfight, in the words of Randy Smart, 5 sets, 7 lead changes in that 5th set, and Wake pulled it out, 15-13. A little different story tonight. Wake has dominated the second set. And Shaffmaster just misses long in the cut shot. So UNC with 5 hitting errors now in this set.
I like where she's going with that, though. I think that thumb down shot, it's open. They haven't forced Wake Forest to really play that 4-4 shot much.
Off the tape. Thurman hits it wide, and Carolina's hitting woes are starting to play a factor in this rotation.
Absolutely, and it's hard. I know I'm harping on we need distribution if you're Carolina, right? But it's tough as a setter when you're distributing and your hitters aren't getting it done and they're making a lot of errors. It's like, yeah, I just want to set Foster right now because she's getting it done.
Nolan in the middle is a good option. Nice in-system kill. And that all starts with good serve receive if you're UNC.
Absolutely. Nolan is completely neutralized without that incredible pass. And getting that one-on-one opportunity. But you can kind of see Barrett just trying to find someone she can set to get a kill, and what a serve.
Barrett goes back to it. And Thurman is tipped in. Nice hands by Paige Crawford. That's the 4th block for Wake.
Wake Forest, again, has really been able to penetrate the net. You can see how they reach over and really make sure that they're able to place that ball in the court, not just get tooled.
Crawford fires at Foster. Back row Crawford. Whoa!
Wow.
Nolan. Oh, that's fun to watch.
And although Carolina's down pretty significantly in this set at this point, a play like this really just gets you excited, and it breathes that life back into the team, especially going into that third set. It's not impossible for them to come back here again. It would just be very difficult. But getting that great momentum going into that third set is key.
That's a service error that'll stop the run for Carolina.
And that's tough. That's really tough for Overbeck, just because she came in specifically for the serve.
We've noted senior day here in Winston-Salem, and Annabelle Daly out of Los Angeles comes in for her senior day serving moment. Only the second set of the season for Annabelle.
Again, a really talented defensive specialist.
That's a service error.
She's nervous. It's senior night. She's allowed to be nervous.
Well, the Daly section's right in front of us, and there was a huge sigh on that serve. I don't blame her.
That's all right. It happens. She's being aggressive. Aggressive serving's good.
Always better to miss deep than miss into the net.
True. Give yourself an opportunity, or give the other team, better yet, an opportunity to at least try to play it.
From one senior to another, Bobick into the net.
That's another deadly sin of serving, is missing a serve after one of your teammates. So Carolina's now missed 2 serves in a row. So they've gone through 2 rotations of not even giving Wake Forest the ball. Like, they're doing rotations without even having serve receive or anything. It's just kind of flying through, and they're really letting this game get away from them quickly.
Baker back in system. And Slater blasts one to the UNC bench out of play. But point Wake Forest.
You can just see the frustration with Carolina.
There's a net touch on Carolina late.
I feel for them because really nothing has gone their way. Every challenge has been won by Wake Forest. You can see they finally get a break on the point, and then there's a touch in the net. It's really frustrating.
Nice serve and ace for Baker.
All of these are just insanely frustrating points, and they're going to want to turn around that momentum a little bit going into this third set if they want to have a chance to do a reverse sweep, kind of what Wake Forest did to them on Sunday, which is very possible.
A carbon copy of Sunday. Great point. As Miggins blasts one into the back row. Nice swing for the High Point transfer.
Miggins again, slowly crawling up into this game. That's her 3rd kill. Kind of in that same spot. Hitting a 250 now. So she's really become a viable option for Carolina's offense.
Mike Shaw has noted the need of a presence of the right side. The middle will help. So UNC gets back on the board, down 9.
I like this rotation for Carolina, though. You have some seasoned players up at the front. You have Shutter up there. She's a redshirt freshman. You know, you have some good height up there. But again, I mean, 3 or 4 missed serves in the last 10 points. Even the last 5 points for Carolina. It's really tough to win a set like that.
UNC won the first 2 sets on Sunday. Now it's set point, Demon Deacons. Shaffmaster into the net. And a dominant set 2. Wake controls it 25-14.
Still an exciting set of volleyball.
You know, serving pass and didn't let the body language defeat them.
Exactly.
Here's a good start for Carolina, an ace to open set 3.
Speaking of picking up your serving, I really love when a team picks on the outside hitter. No offense, of course, to my outsides, but anytime a team picks on that outside who's pulled back is great.
That goes off the hands. Good kill for Ashley Slater. Who's had a productive match. 6 kills tonight. Slater was one of those 9 seniors being honored. 670 kills for Ashley entering the match. And it feels like yesterday in 2020, she was on the all-freshman team in that spring short season.
I know.
Barrett continues to operate this offense. Carolina's switched into a 6-2 in the last couple of weeks. And a net touch against UNC gives Wake the point. Wake has largely leaned on Baker tonight, more of the 5-1, and Baker's done a nice job getting hitters involved.
She's done a great job. I thought Randy Smart might flip it to have 2 setters in order to have a big block on Carolina at all times. But I think Baker's just done an incredible job at the net.
Baker has 24 assists, also has 2 blocks today. Both these setters have been critical to run this offense.
She's been great. Wake Forest really is in the perfect lineup that they want to be in, because I just feel like Baker's done a little bit of a better job against Foster than I've seen Slater do. I just think for whatever reason they're a little bit better of a matchup, and Slater's been better with Shaffmaster, so it works out really well. So I'm sure, much to Carolina's dismay.
Mike Shaw's going to challenge this serve because the line judges had different calls, and the lead ref made the final decision here. This looks really close.
I'd have to see the replay on that.
Also worth noting, this would be the last challenge for Carolina if they had lost it.
Oh.
Already had burned 1.
I forgot about that. They had burned 1. So that would be really difficult. So I would imagine he wouldn't do it for no reason. Mike Shaw's a smart cookie, but...
And it was interesting because down line, the Carolina bench gets a great view at that shot. It's not in the far corner. They do get a down line look. 5 challenges tonight. Coaches are 3 for 4. So this is the best look we have. It's not perfect, but we'll let you know.
Ooh, I thought I saw some black. I don't know if it's in or out. That was really fast. And they typically have more angles to look at.
Remember,
than we do.
The views we are seeing are not the same views the officials will see.
Exactly.
There are more angles.
So he probably has a little more to work with.
Worth noting with Mike Shaw, first-year replacing a legend in Joe Segulin. This is not an NCAA tournament, the team this year at Carolina, but the mindset and the growth. Mike Shaw's been really impressed with his team responding to adversity.
Absolutely. Oh.
That call is ruled in and overturned, point UNC.
I know the only problem now is your server's a little iced. You have a big topspin server who now has to regroup. But Shaffmaster, she's a veteran.
Top 10 in aces, and Randy Smart said returning a Shaffmaster serve is like returning a hammer against a brick. It is full speed ahead.
Normally you like the topspin serve, but not against her.
Nice block at the net, and Thurman helps with the move. So here's the mental response that Carolina's needed in set 3.
Exactly. Let's take a look over here at that block. Absolutely roofed. Carolina waking up a little bit.
14 blocks for the Tar Heels.
It was just because of daylight savings.
And we're in the final 2 weeks, and it looks like Foster got shaken up there. Yeah, the medic.
An injury timeout. They're calling the medics. Did you see what happened? I did not. Did the block go off her head?
So Amani Foster will be treated by the athletic trainer. Friendly fire there.
Wait.
Yeah, that was the arm of Nolan coming down.
I had a teammate chip a tooth like that. She was the setter in the middle, elbowed her in the head and caused her to chip her tooth. It can be really serious.
Well, let's hope Amani's okay.
It looks like they've brought in Safi Hampton, 6'1" freshman outside. She was chatting with the teammates a moment ago, kind of figuring out where she is, what they're running.
Safi Hampton, 4.4 GPA in high school. Really smart kid.
Oh, wow.
Now she's in the journalism program at the Hussman School at Carolina.
Good for her. That's amazing.
And this is a steep learning curve.
And that's, if you're Carolina, you don't want any player to go down, but especially not your player who has the most kills on the team at the moment. But sometimes when this happens, the teams really rally around. When their best player goes down, or the player who's playing the best that night, they really rally around and pull it together for them.
Frankie in system is dug out by Shaffmaster. Hampton's first swing is dug up.
Ooh.
But then ruled down. Willock couldn't get to it.
That'll be a double.
Double touch on the set there. Good call.
That's a good confidence builder for her, right? Your first swing coming in is technically a kill. Helps get the nerves out.
Hampton's had some big matches, 4 in the ACC in double figures, and there's Shaffmaster flipping an ace.
And the Carolina bench is starting to get a little electric. And I'll tell you, again, you normally like to pass a topspin serve. It goes where you think it's going to go, but Shaffmaster's is different. She brings a lot of heat, and it's just hard.
That is a missile into the seats and an ace for Shaffmaster.
And this is Wake Forest's best serve-receive lineup. These are the people you want. Coach Smart doesn't have somebody she wants to sub in for these people.
We'll take the timeout. UNC looks to flip the script on Wake in his third set.
Like this might happen. Always happens in the grudge matches.
History always seems to repeat itself, especially 5 days later. Shaffmaster uncorks an ace into the back corner. Nice service run here from Mabrey.
And I gotta say, we were talking about this over the break. She's doing this with 3 breaks during her serve. The challenge, the injury, and then the timeout. So 3 very different breaks, some emotional highs and lows, and she's still bringing the heat.
There's an overpass on the serve. Good scoop by Emma Farrell. Carolina on a 4-point run, all with Shaffmaster on serve. That goes into the block, and the rally continues. Now an 8-point swing, an 8-0 run for Carolina.
Shaffmaster has single-handedly gritted Carolina back into this game with this serve that Wake Forest has now pulled back 4 people to try to defend.
That is a rocket to Emma Farrell. Now Barrett finds the freshman. Oh, look at Farrell slide across the court.
Dig.
May does the same. Shaffmaster punches that one free. Frankie in the middle is roofed. 9-point swing for the Tar Heels.
This is starting to look like a defensive clinic. Let's take a look at Farrell's dig here. She just gets so stopped on defense. I love watching it. And Carolina knew that Wake Forest was going to run that B-ball. Carolina has really picked up on the sequences from Wake Forest.
That ends an epic run for the Tar Heels, longest stretch of the day.
How many serves was that? Was that 8 serves? So, 8 serves. That's crazy. In an ACC match, that's unheard of.
Now how does Wake respond? Down 7. Good ball to the middle. Farrell's there to clean it up. And Frankie is roofed. Big set here from Sydney Nolan, setting the presence.
Absolutely. Again, Carolina knows how pivotal Frankie is to this offense. And right now is a really tough rotation for Wake Forest just because setters front row, they only have 2 options. So it's a 50-50 shot. It's going to Frankie, and it's becoming increasingly easy to go block her.
That is out. Back-to-back service errors for Carolina.
I just know Farrell and Torrance were a little nervous about that. I just know if I had let a couple of serves drop and they hit, to let another one go out is really tough. And we can see not necessarily the most favorited serving lineup for Wake Forest to be in after that.
Frankie serves one wide. How do you avoid those mental traps if you're Wake Forest? You see what happened Sunday, and now you're falling into a similar start.
You can't panic. I'm seeing a lot of panic. You know, the longer huddles where they stay together and they talk for an extra second. It's like, that's great, but at the same time, it needs to be business as usual. You're not down because Carolina's necessarily doing anything new or crazy.
Good dump there by Baker.
That was great. You're down because one server got behind the line and really torched you and now has breathed life into the entire team. Shaffmaster took pressure off of everybody. Everybody can take big swings now and go for big blocks and not worry about every single point like before.
As Wake with its 3rd service error of this set.
3rd service error of Carolina's 13 points is really difficult. Again, you really only want to have 2 service errors per set to kind of be par.
Nice serve there by Hampton. There's on the return. And a illegal back row attack against Carolina. So point Wake Forest.
And I got to give it to Safi Hampton. That was a great touch. She's a 6'1" outside right now. Freshman. Thrown in because of injury. Now having to play 6 rotations. And she's doing a great job so far.
Lonnie Willock comes in to serve. That goes all the way to the roof of Varsity Arena.
Oh.
And then Crawford puts it away.
A little bit of a miscoordination by Babbitt.
With Crawford in the front these next few rotations, how important are these points if you're Wake Forest?
Pivotal. More so just because you have 3 options up, not even just because you have one person, but to have everybody as a team.
That goes outside the block and a hitting error for UNC. A Wake team that's been dominant at home this year, especially in the ACC.
And I think we're going to see Wake Forest scrap and claw a little bit. I don't think they're going to have just one run that really puts them ahead. I think they're going to get 3 points here, 3 points there. But I think they're going to tie it up here soon.
It was 11-3 at one point. And Farrell punches it back in. Crawford right in the middle of the court. That's a lovely kill for her 10th.
I was going to say it was with her left hand too, but Farrell's actually left-handed. But nonetheless, insanely impressive. As we mentioned before, when the ball goes off the block, it doesn't look that difficult. But as a defender, you're reading the play. You're kind of guessing what you think is going to happen. So to see something totally different happen can be really challenging.
Crawford gets her hands on it. And back-to-back points for the All-ACC talent.
Definitely contextualizes what's happening here tonight.
Last year, 5 teams out of the ACC got in. Miami was a surprise at-large and actually won a tournament game as well. Who could be that 5th team for the ACC this year? There's 4 ranked teams.
And maybe they'll pick a 6. You know, they've done more than 5 before. So Wake Forest could still win out and have a chance to make it. It's not necessarily always 5, but it seems like that 5-6 number is kind of the sweet spot that the ACC normally ends up sending.
And Wake with a win tonight would earn a 500 or better record in the ACC.
That's been the goal for Randy Smart after finishing 8th last year. She wanted the top 8, and Slater provides it with the roof.
Shaffmaster getting well into the negatives at this point. The Carolina offense, again, both setters not doing as good of a job as they could. Mixing it up. I think it was very clear who they were going to set in that play. But again, if the passing isn't there and the hitters aren't making good swings, it's hard to mix up that offense. It's a bit of a catch-22. Oh, it's live.
That might have been a double touch, but the play continue, and Ogogar finishes it off.
That might have been the best set Ogogar got all night. I mean, you don't typically want to hand set the other team like that. I think that's just a mistake of pure frustration. You can really see Carolina, even though they're in the lead right now still, the body language to me isn't showing that they're still in the lead. You can see Mike Shaw.
He's asking the question about Crawford earlier in that.
Having a bit of a chat. And Mike Shaw himself was a setter at Penn State, so he's no stranger to setting. He's probably one of, if not the top setting coach on the East Coast.
Mike Shaw, national champion at Penn State as a player, and has worked a long time under Joe Segula. Now it's his job. Year 1 as the head coach. All of a sudden, a 7-0 Wake Forest run has made things really tight.
Shaffmaster hits it wide, and Wake is even his 3rd set.
So I was wrong. This has been a very long run. Wake Forest came out with an 8-0 scoring run, which again,
Which
is
responded
so
to the UNC 8-0 run.
So unusual in the ACC.
Shaffmaster, who's had to carry a ton of the load offensively this year, does get a block, and that'll put Carolina back in front.
And that's Slater's first error. Prior to that, she was hitting 700. Now she's hitting 636. she's allowed to have one error in a match.
That might not be an error as much as just a dominant stuff block.
Yeah.
Great hands from Shaffmaster.
True.
May challenges Wake with a good serve. And an ace for the Tar Heels.
Servicing falling apart a little bit for the Demon Deacons, but again, this is a great serving lineup that Carolina has. Carolina has really they've been high error, but it's because it's in the pursuit of putting a lot of pressure on this Wake Forest servicing.
6 aces in this set alone. And that's essentially an ace. Good dump down by Nolan. That was the serve play factor for the Tar Heels in this set.
I mean, the serving has played an enormous factor in this entire game. It's like we talked about earlier in the match, it's going to come down to serve and pass. And Carolina does not want to go home. They lose this set, they're on their way back to Chapel Hill.
Good swing by Crawford. Worth noting a loss for Carolina this match also guarantees a losing record in the league, so they'd be out of any tournament conversation. A win for Wake would help them clinch at least a 500 record or better coming up the next 2 weeks. Emma Farrell with a nice serve, and Slater takes care of it. 8 kills tonight for Ashley Slater.
It's just really smart. I see nobody on the bench is even giving her serve signals. Let's take a look. Beautiful swing, but nobody even giving her serve signals. She knows to serve the new player on the court.
That goes off the tape. And then Hampton keeps it alive. Nice kill by Sydney Nolan.
I love seeing that variety in the set. Sydney Nolan, again, 10 attempts, no errors, 5 kills, now 11 attempts, 6 kills. She's been really great, but as we know from the passing, it's just been really hard. She's not really able to get run in transition.
That was a tough set by Baker, and frankly puts it away. Nice job to manage the net.
That's an insanely tough set from the back row to not go over. That's a highly technical play, and that's really hard for someone who's not a true middle. For Nolan, you can see she kind of put her hands up, kind of half jumped, but you don't need to jump with a back row setter.
That goes off the tape and almost causes trouble for Carolina.
Another one of those. And you can see everybody kind of wanting a double call.
Nice block. Nolan will help the cause. This has been a good set at the net. 7 blocks for Sydney Nolan.
The blocking is really, really heated up. Let's take a look at this block. Just really impressive. I definitely see why they moved Nolan from that outside slot to the middle when she works so hard defensively at the net.
Nolan's coming out party was against Duke, had 10 blocks and 10 kills. Been in the middle ever since. Hampton takes a huge swing.
Wow.
And that stays in play. Crawford. Pivotal rally late in set 3. That goes into the net, and Carolina wins the rally.
Hampton looks so good defensively and offensively. Again, it's really hard. Obviously, she's an incredible player. She's here playing in the ACC as a freshman. But to come off the bench after 2 sets when you don't really expect to play is really tough mentally.
That's a big service error from Mabrey Shaffmaster. Now Ava Carney subs into the front row for Wake.
And this is a good serve-receive position for Carolina. You can see the setter's back row pulled up in such a way it's a little bit easier for her to set anybody.
Barrett goes middle. Nicely placed. Nolan's had a very productive match. 7 kills, 7 blocks.
It looks very sharp from Carolina right now.
And in these rotations, Nolan will come out. Lauren Shutter will enter into the front row. And now Marissa Meyerhofer to serve. Meyerhofer keeps it up. And Shaffmaster takes blast, but misses long.
I thought there was a touch on that as well, actually. And that's going to be a challenge. I definitely thought there was a touch touch.
Immediate challenge for Mike Shaw.
But this is a rotation. They're going to want to stay in. It looks like Carolina's in rotation 3. So if they have to go into serve receive in this rotation, that means your setter is going to have to come from the back row, run all the way across the court, flip around to make the set. It's just a lot more difficult. Let's take a look at Shaffmaster.
Oh yeah, change of direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw some hand movement. I would be really surprised if this wasn't overruled, but we've certainly seen crazier, and maybe they see something we don't, but...
Shaffmaster's body language as well sold that after.
Yes.
It's a savvy play from the two-time All-ACC outside.
Absolutely. And she's really firing up again, as we were talking about before. It's going to depend her hitting percentage on what happens here, but on 20 attempts right now, she only has 3 kills, 8 errors, which puts her at a negative 250. But her kills have kind of started to come during this set. So she's definitely starting to heat up and be a viable option.
The touch is confirmed. Point UNC.
I was going to be surprised. On that one. And there's a big difference between 18-20 and 17-21 mentally for both teams.
Can UNC flip the script for Sunday when Wake pulled the reverse sweep?
Well, it's just exciting to see a lot better volleyball from them. The first set, they looked really great. The second set, they really just beat themselves.
And Carney tools the block. 8 kills for the true freshman. Joining Olivia Babcock on the all-freshman team. I think those two will be back and forth for the freshman of the year.
And we can see Wake Forest is really serious about providing a difficult serve. You can see they have a serving specialist, Kendall Phillips, behind the line as opposed to just letting the middle serve.
The junior delivers an ace.
And we can see why.
Good coaching adjustment there from Randy Smart.
Oh, here's some push-ups from the bench. I love it. Annabelle Daly definitely has missed congeniality. I love it.
On senior night, Daly leading the bench. Phillips comes in to serve. Options for Barrett. Nice jump and a good swing from Safi Hampton.
I don't think the Wake Forest timing has quite figured her out yet. Let's take another look. It looks like she's hitting over the block.
And that's Baker all on an island out there.
I know. And it's tough. It's really tough to play middle back defense when you're playing against someone who's able to hit over the block because you can't see a lot of times in middle back defense. So they typically say, hey, if you can't see, the block gets in.
Baker on the dump. Confusion. And Wake's within 2.
Definitely pretty. But Baker's now in the back row and likely won't be back in the front row the rest of the set. But you can see kind of confusion on who was going to get that.
Threw her hands up and said, I can't touch it again.
And Babbitt really should have been in there to get that.
That goes through the block. Good swing by Hampton.
And somebody was in the net, but maybe it was Wake Forest, so they're not going to
2 points away from the set.
call it. And that's a timeout, Wake Forest. I think that's a well-timed timeout. This has really been tooth and nail volleyball, and a lot of times I would say, oh, you know, it's just that big run that Carolina had, but the net in this set. But I actually think right now it's a bit of a worry for them to have Shaffmaster up as opposed to Hampton, which, as we know, Shaffmaster in years past has been so dominant, but it just hasn't been her day today.
Gogar off balance, and that is kept
Wow,
alive.
what a play!
Babbitt kept it up. Now she comes in the set.
No team willing to say
And Megan's
no.
is in the wrong spot. So point Wake Forest.
I think that's... Let's take a look. I think this is a good example, too, of it's really good to be scrappy, but at the same time, scrappiness a lot of times is a result of panic, right? It's a broken play. Everything's just out of place. So the scrappy plays are really impressive and get everybody really excited, and they extend the rally. But by the same token, they're panicked plays, and they don't really, a lot of times.
And we see Randy Smart there wanted to sub in Dior Charles for the net presence. Didn't get the substitution.
Must not have called it in time, perhaps? I can't imagine she's out of subs.
Shaffmaster into the double, and good decision to keep a go guard.
I'm telling you, Shaffmaster tonight, some days it's just not your day. I'm a little surprised that Carolina hasn't made a move, but they might not have somebody else who can really slide in and do that.
He's had some up and down nights this year, but coming in, one of the best in the ACC, 4th in kills per set. And tonight, this is unprecedented. It's been a hard night to score against Wake.
It's been a hard night, and that it happens to every player. You can't be out there and be a robot, right? Like, not every night can be a perfect night.
Wake is back within 1. Good touch, Shaffmaster.
Oh, it's still up.
And that goes down for a point. Set point, UNC. And a lift is called.
A good serving lineup. Maddie May was able to notch an ace last time she was back.
Carolina wants to push this forward. They will not.
Wow.
Wake Forest will serve to extend the set.
I was waiting to see if Mike Shaw would perhaps try to challenge it, because who knows, it's game point, you really need it. And we can see
And
they're
now
making
Wake
that
is
sub.
calling the sub. Dior Charles, the defensive specialist at the net, will come in.
Well, and Frankie offensively, that last rotation, if you recall, Carolina really was able to understand and get what she had going on.
Emma Farrell to extend the set.
Great serve.
Back set is blocked. Dior Charles extends it.
Dior Charles is making Randy Smart look especially smart tonight. That was a brilliant play. We can see the crowd becomes electric.
Oh.
Let's look at that.
Charles had 5 blocks Sunday, gets her first tonight. And now you win by 2 in this set. Over ball. Slater hits the antenna, and a tough set gives UNC set point.
I know she probably wanted to slam that, but she made the right decision. If you're not sure, like we mentioned earlier on, better to set it. Not her fault that the set was a wee bit wide, but not ideal that Carolina now has game point once again.
This is a crucial juncture for Zoe Barrett. Carolina to extend this match to 4. Nice serve and a free ball. Barrett in system. Kept up by Baker. And Slater touches it over. Shaffmaster. Here's Crawford. Through the double. Wake Forest evens at 25.
What an incredible play. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a timeout here, if any are left at this point. Oh, and I'm looking, no timeouts left for either team.
Win by 2.
So the only way to stop these games are through challenges, injuries, or subs.
Here's Ava Torrance in to serve. Bonus volleyball in the 3rd.
And this is the best back row lineup Wake Forest has.
Shaffmaster off hands, set point, Carolina.
And she's going back to serve. And this is really the worst case scenario for Wake Forest. She just built up that confidence again. And if you recall, she was moving on that 8-point run at the beginning of this set.
Set point. Off the tape. Crawford extends it. And we got a great 3rd set.
I think the MVP is that net that slowed that ball down a little bit so that Willick was running up, probably would have gotten hit in the chest, and then was able to make an athletic play off that. Super impressive. But that was best case scenario for the Demon Deacons.
Crawford now in the back row on serve. Off hands, Carolina with another set point. Good swing by Safi Hampton.
Both teams absolutely battling. And now this is a tough rotation for Carolina just because you have your libero out, you have your middle serving. It looks like it's rotation 3.
Set point once again. Carney. That's in. 27 apiece.
And your middle is not going to run up and cover that like your libero would. But we are definitely getting a lot of volleyball tonight.
Varsity Arena is electric tonight.
No serving specialist being used for Dior Charles, which is a little surprising, but I understand because you're going to get sub light here. You're not going to have a whole lot of subs left.
That goes into the net. And now Carolina with its 6th set point opportunity. Had a ton of chances. And now UNC checking how many subs they have left. They have enough to bring in a serve specialist here.
But this is still a great rotation for Wake Forest. You have Ava Carney, you have your setter Baker front row, who's really active at the net, tall and athletic.
In the serve. Remember, win by 2. So set point UNC. Just over the tape. Carney. Off hands.
I mean, neither team wants to let this game up, and you have to remember the additional pressure that is on Carolina, right? They're down 2 sets to none. So if they lose this set, they go home, it's game over.
Now Wake Forest on serve. Hampton down line. Carolina is matching Wake swing for swing.
Swing for swing, and Hampton just does such a great job getting over the block. Ashley Slater is a big block. She's a tall girl. But nonetheless, she's able to get over 6'2" Slater.
Set point once again. Carney goes left. Big swing here for the Tar Heels. Dug out.
What a dig!
And
What a
killed.
play!
Okogar notches the 29.
That's a pretty good senior night type of swing. Look at that. Absolute beautiful volleyball.
And it all starts right there with Crawford.
We now have Ava Carney in the back.
Service error.
Back-to-back service errors, right? Or was there one in between those?
So Carolina's had a run of 6 consecutive points that they could close it out. Let's see if 6 is the magic number. 8 set points, in fact. It just keeps going.
Oh.
That'll do it. It hits Slater, and Carolina takes set 3, 31-29. Let's see if this is the repeat of Sunday. This time it's the Tar Heels extending the Thanksgiving. So instead of turkey, we'll give you some stuffing and keep this thing rolling in set 4. Babick goes back set, and a nice swing from Maria Miggins. This was the start Carolina had in set 3 that really flipped the script.
This is definitely concerning for the Demon Deacons, to say the least.
This place has gone quiet quickly after that dramatic 31-29 set. Crawford off the block and a roof. That is kept up.
That's got to be play of the night.
That block is out and it ends in a Carolina point.
That's got to be, I mean, we've had some doozies tonight, but that was definitely.
That was high on your wow meter.
That was high. Let's take a look. Kind of, you can double the first ball, kind of funky. That's speed ball.
Just off the tape. Torrance able to find it. Both teams diving everywhere. Nice kill for Paige Crawford, and now has 14.
Torrance really having a quietly great night tonight.
Paige Crawford, who's in the top 5 in kills in the ACC. Good swing by Shaffmaster. That was all set up by Nolan in the middle.
I know. Did you see how nice Shaffmaster's hands were out of serve receive too? I remember my first college coach, I had a couple of different ones in college. He wouldn't let us hand set and serve receive. I'm like, Shaffmaster maybe would have gotten a hall pass.
Certainly helps with 2-time All-ACC honors in her back pocket.
Yeah, I think she can kind of do what she wants.
And a third coming in a few weeks. Baker with a creative back set there. And we've noted that Monty Foster remains out with the head injury. That swing goes out by her replacement.
And Carolina has really stepped it up since then. I know we talked about she was leading the game in kills and pretty much every statistic, but sometimes when the player who's doing the best that night goes out, the other players rally around them and really form that community and act as a team.
The biggest key has been Safi Hampton coming in. And Carney is roofed. Don't forget about Romani Thurman on the outside as well. Nice block.
I know, even after that nice little dig by Olivia Frankie, as a middle, she never has to get a dig. Now let's take a look. Yeah, that block's nice. We love to see that. And now we have Shaffmaster with her lethal serve behind the line. Torrance handling it.
Blocking is not uncommon in this league as Carney gets the point. The ACC leads the country in total blocks entering tonight.
Crazy.
Of course, Pitt is one of the best blocking teams in the country, number one. But as a league entirely, no league with more blocks so far.
Which really makes me feel like this is the hardest conference to take swings in, to be a hitter in.
The Big Ten is all power. This league has power, finesse, speed.
Exactly. Oh, somebody brought the net down. Wake Forest falling apart a little bit here in this fourth set. Again, I talk about kind of the kiss of death sometimes that I see. It's those panicked plays, it's those sloppy errors, and they really need to tighten up.
Carolina up 2 in this fourth set. Remember, just on Sunday, 5 days ago in Chapel Hill, Wake pulled this exact script, and they flipped sets 3, 4, and 5 to win it.
And again, all of the pressure really is on Carolina at this point. However, after this set, the scripts are definitely going to be changed.
That goes out. Shaffmaster wisely lays off. That's the old yes, 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 no.
Willie's a strong girl. Did you see how far back she was standing? I mean, she probably served that ball. The whole volleyball court is 60 feet. She probably served a total of 85 feet.
24 service errors, really in the fourth set. That would have been 25. Instead, an ace off of Farrell's hands.
Uncharacteristic mistake by Farrell. But again, this is not the hole that Wake Forest wants to dig early on. This is what happened in the last set. They dig a hole, then they begin to panic a little bit, and you can't rely on another 8-0 run to rescue you.
Ogogar helps it with a kill in the middle. The Wake middle 7 for Ogogar, 6 for Frankie. Good balance up there.
Let's take a look. It looked like somebody was in the net as well, but it must have been Carolina. Where is the ball? Wow. You just see the net moving. You get excited. You're hoping it's the other team in the net. A little bit of a confusion, it looks like, on who's going to be the serving middle, because the libero can only serve for one of the middles. So it looks like there's a little confusion on who it was going to be.
Instead, George Charles checks into the front for Wake. Had a huge block in that third set. No chance touching that, but the ball goes out. A rare miss for Safi Hampton.
I'm still just so impressed with her ability to come into this game completely cold and really hold her own, not only offensively, but she's done a great job. She's picked up tips. She's been great in serve receive. She's been great serving.
Hampton did not play on Sunday, but that is not stopping her tonight. Nice swing down line.
Yes, she does not look like your typical nervous freshman coming in. She's taking her strides. I mean, look, she gets so far above the block. I think she's making it really difficult for Wake Forest to get a hand on her.
Another point on the double touch.
Again, these are the kinds of plays you can kind of see the frustration in a team when they make. Doubles, nets, those weird plays.
That does go out, ending a nice run for Carolina. Oh, wait. Did that hit a player?
It seems like there's a little bit of commotion.
So the line judge is giving the explanation to the R2.
Did it hit the player who was running up to sub? That was funky. Oh no, I do think it hit her foot. At the same time, it hit the ground because it changed direction.
And Randy Smart will issue a challenge. I think she just stole the Gatorade cup from the UNC SID board staff.
But again, even if they win this challenge, Wake Forest is making a lot of funky, frustrated errors. We have a double, we have nets, we have somebody hitting it off of their foot in serve receive when it should have been out. Those are uncharacteristic mistakes of this really talented team. So that just kind of tells me that they're frustrated. They're having that long-term memory of what happened in the last game. So let's take a peek. She tried to move her foot. I think it looks like it changed direction. That did not look like a typical bounce, unfortunately for the Demon defense. Let's take a look. It looks like it changed direction to me.
Unless it hit the floor first, then it fell.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But it almost looks simultaneous. But they could say that they can't tell.
But nonetheless, whichever direction it goes, Wake Forest needs to tidy it up, clear up that serve receive. Acing Emma Farrell is really out of character for them. So they called it out. So they're saying it hit the foot after.
Which is ideal for the Demon Deacons. But Carolina's still very in good spirits. This is still a great rotation for them.
If I'm Safi Hampton, I'm not feeling any stress the way she's swinging tonight.
No, she's been incredible. And I wouldn't be surprised if Shaffmaster, it seems like she's really picked it up the end of last set and this set. But if she starts to get blocked again, I wouldn't be surprised if they find Hampton in the back row.
Now Shaffmaster uncorks one. And a nice swing, 8 kills. More importantly for Shaffmaster, there's no fear in that right arm. She's going to work regardless.
Absolutely. And Emma Farrell, 11 digs tonight, but couldn't quite get that one.
Torrance hustles over.
What a play.
May with a great save, and Safi Hampton hits into the net.
Very close, and I have to say, Ava Torrance has been so impressive tonight. She plays half the rotations of Emma Farrell, yet she has 10 digs, and Farrell has 11. So impressive for a defensive specialist.
Deep serve to Hampton. Wake has kept Shaffmaster in check. This is her season low hit percentage, and Carney turns it into a kill.
Absolutely, which we beat the dead horse, but it comes down to Wake Forest knowing who's typically going to get set. Let's take a look at Carney, able to really tool that block that wasn't quite pressed over as much as it needed to be.
That goes deep. And Wake Forest, 14 service errors tonight. Both teams have struggled. Granted, they're playing good opponents, but they've struggled to find serve.
It seems like that first set, both teams played really great. The second set, Carolina kind of beat themselves. The third set, Wake Forest kind of beat themselves. And it seems like Wake Forest is kind of making a lot of these unforced errors that's keeping Carolina in a slight lead, which is going to come back to bite them later on in this set.
Shaffmaster goes down line and had Torrance a little off balance there. Point UNC.
I jinxed Ava Torrance.
Who's done everything right tonight.
She's been phenomenal. And it's really difficult to play right back defense, right? Geometrically speaking, the outside hitter for Carolina is getting the most amount of attempts. So geometrically, that's the closest to your face.
Net touch on Carney. UNC with his largest lead of the set now at 4.
Carney definitely has got to get out of the net. Although she's a freshman, it's easy to forget that's definitely a reasonable freshman mistake. We're at the end of the season. You're a team that's looking to potentially go to postseason. This is the time that things have to be tight.
Nearly an ace, and Baker punched it back in. Feeding the right side.
Dior Charles on the slide is scooped up, and that goes into the net. The kill for Charles, her first. We've talked about balance in this Wake lineup. Crawford and Carney have 26 combined kills. Then Slater 8, Agogar 7, Frankie 6, and now you look at the Carolina line, it's very similar, 9-8-7-6-6.
Starting to be so balanced, which, as we can see, is reflective in the score and the fact that Wake Forest isn't getting a block now every other play.
Then feeding the bees, Shaffmaster. It goes off hands of Wake, so a point for UNC.
It's been nice to see Shaffmaster figure it out. It's hard. Volleyball's a tough game. It's a game of errors. And she's made, unfortunately, a lot of them tonight. And she's put that aside and really done an amazing job still picking up her team, contributing with the serve until she got her swing there.
That went off of Carney, in fact.
That was fun. I kind of want to see that again. I don't know how that bounced back over.
Nice block by Thurman.
An absolute ricochet. Let's take a look. Off her shoulder. Should have tilted her shoulder a little bit.
We'll take the timeout. Carolina putting a run here. That's a hard road to climb if you're Mike Shaw late in the season.
I know. Really difficult, but it is his first season. A bit of a rebuilding year. Got some freshmen in the lineup.
Mike Shaw called this 4-game stretch the Carolina postseason, playing 4 high-quality teams. Wake Forest with a win would clinch at least a 500 record in the conference. Haven't done that in the Randy Smart era just yet. Hampton takes another swing and beats the double. Point UNC.
Hampton has been absolutely electric. I could watch her and have watched her pretty much all night long. Just being able to get over the block. It's not like she's hitting a crazy number of different shots or doing anything more than just jumping a heck of a lot higher than everybody else.
There are some loud sound effects in this gym tonight. Balls are smacking the court as Carney gets the kill.
I would like to know, I remember in practice in college, they would radar gun the serves. So our goal was to have serves that were over 30 miles an hour if it's a float serve. And you want to be close to 50 miles an hour for a jump top. I bet Shaffmaster's much faster. And I bet that one was much faster than 30.
Wake Forest with its 6th ace of the night.
Because the float serve can be, it's kind of reflective of, say, the knuckleball. It's flat and it moves. It's a little bit off speed and slower. It's not necessarily supposed to be 50 miles an hour.
Nolan in system.
What a touch.
Now that ball was at least 50 off the gun.
But
Great swing by the middle.
Swings. I feel like the swings have to be at least 70, 80 miles an hour. Total guess.
They're fast, that's for sure.
They're fast.
And when you're playing in system like Carolina just did there, good luck returning it.
I need somebody in the studio to Google it for us here.
Baker looks to feed the middle and could not do it.
Big double.
Very deep in the pocket. And now a timeout, Randy Smart, because this 6-point lead is the largest of the set for Carolina. It's so fascinating, right? You play a team Sunday, and Wake is down 2. They've looked poor offensively, and they pull it back. Plateau is something Wake has been looking for. Haven't had a winning season in the conference in 13 years.
Insane. But it's tough, right? Wake Forest is a highly academic school. It's a smaller school. So you have to get players that are not only insanely great at volleyball, but insanely intelligent. As a Wake Forest grad myself, I have to say, you don't just get to skirt through classes. There's no special treatment for being an athlete.
That could be said of both these schools, Carolina and Wake. Very academic. Back row for Shaffmaster, who's found a rhythm in this 3rd set. Got the hit percentage now above 0. Oh, a little bit off bounds for the middle. Tried to feed Sadie Swift and a point for Wake.
Haven't seen a lot from Swift tonight. 4 attempts, no kills, but no errors. 2 blocks. She's been a little quiet, but I like that they're trying to get her into the offense. You're up 5 points. That's the time to start getting her in so that by the time if you do go to a 5th set, that you have all of your weapons ready.
Massive swing on the back set. Thurman extends this UNC lead.
Another freshman. I mean, Carolina's a really young, talented team.
Mike Shaw has brought in a ton of talent, both in the portal and then with the freshmen.
Absolutely. This is the most players I've ever seen from North Carolina on Carolina's team.
Miggins keeps it alive. Nice tool of the block. Safi Hampton out of Maryland's having herself a night.
Let's take another look at Hampton's swing. That was really like a two-step approach. She only did the last 2 steps. And we can see Wake Forest is now switching setters, so they're not pulling into a 5-1, or excuse me, they're not pulling from a 5-1 to a 6-2. They're staying in that 5-1, just using Kylie Adams, who's also
the senior out of San Diego. No one covered the backside.
Oh.
And what a dig by May.
I can see Willick is really bringing some passion. She's not happy about this.
Timeout.
With good reason.
Randy Smart. Carolina has flipped the script here in set 4.
This has been a shocking turn of events. Carolina's playing much better volleyball. I will say Wake Forest is still making a lot of unforced errors that is causing this. I wouldn't say that Carolina is necessarily beating Wake Forest as badly as they're beating themselves right now. Wake Forest is going to put her in 4, but she's certainly getting ready to make an appearance.
And who would have thought when Amani Foster went down early in the 3rd set, that would be the shaking moment for Carolina. In comes Hampton. She has 8 kills, and the offense so much more balanced.
And looks like she's going in for Paige Crawford, who's hitting at 273, 14 kills. The highest number of kills on the Wake Forest team right now.
Randy Smart is very high on this true freshman out of Indiana. 2-time All-State in Indiana.
But sometimes you just need a different look.
First swing for Ogogar is blocked, and Sadie Swift extends this lead.
It's a good thing that was a quick set, because I think if that had been an extended set, they would have called a double on it. But Carolina, very dominant, especially after they had that difficulty in the 2nd set.
Slater 1v1. She'll win that every time on the back set. 9 kills for Ashley. This is a big road to climb if you're Wake in the 4th set. 3 points away from going 5.
Absolutely. Insanely difficult mountain to climb for the Deacons.
Miggins is kept up by Farrell. Seriously? And the block is kept up. Shaffmaster there to save it. Wake back in system. Fish hits it out.
UNC wins the long rally.
And it's tough. Fish is coming in for a decorated player. She's coming in at the end of the match in a high pressure situation as a freshman when she hasn't had any reps. This set, it can be, I mean, we've talked about it all night. It can be really difficult.
Nice dig by May. She's had a nice 4th set. And the block makes this an 8-point difference. Looked like the R2 had some words for Dior Charles. They're a little sideline warning after the play. Common sentiment I've always heard in those moments is you cheer for yourself and not at the other team.
It's hard sometimes, Evan. It's hard sometimes.
Haley, I imagine you were a pointer. You'd get a point, you just point at the other team and start yelling at them.
Clearly. I get it, though. Emotions run high. It's senior night. This game has been really amped up. You're having a ceremony after. This is one of the games you absolutely need to win to make it to the NCAA tournament. There's a lot of pressure. I'm not surprised emotions are running really high.
All of a sudden, set points, Carolina. May to extend it. Barely kept up by Adams. And here's UNC in system. Nolan scooped up.
Back set. Miggins sends us to 5. And UNC looks to flip the script from Sunday. This time it was Wake up 2. And now we head to a 5th.
Heading to a 5th.
Let's get
defense, and she's done a great job. She just jumps over the Wake Forest block.
Let's begin set 5. Race to 15, win by 2. Rotate halfway through. And a net violation on Wake Forest. First point.
Looks like that was on Ashley Slater. Like we talked about, those little mental mistakes are really going to be the death of any team.
Welcome into Varsity Arena. Exciting 5th set with Haley Brooke Weiss. This is senior day for Wake Forest. And a senior kill leads to a freshman swing. And Jewel Charles is there.
Babbitt got a little shoulder on that. She's lucky she didn't get a little face on that. That was close. Let's take a look. Great serve receive pass from Willick. Yeah, that was a little probably too close for comfort.
Babbitt runs over to feed Shaffmaster. And Farrell's all over it. Crawford through the block. Nice job keeping that alive. Carolina, since the 2nd set, their defense has been much better, forcing the hitting error there from Wake Forest.
Olivia Frankie has fallen off a lot since that 2nd set. We saw her get subbed out later in the last set, but Carolina's just done a great job funneling her. They're either blocking her entirely or funneling her to hit out.
Crawford. Good hands there by Thurman. It's been solid at the net. Better dig from Barrett.
Ooh, I am surprised they didn't call a double on that, but
The Wake bench is claiming for it. Play continues.
as a reminder, the double is a judgment call,
And a point
and you
for
can't argue
Shaffmaster.
it. So Randy Smart, former LSU setter, who again knows a thing or two about setting, is very frustrated about this because, again, this game could be the difference between making it or not making it to the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history.
Instead, play continues. Remember, race to 15. There is time in this set. Baker goes middle. And a roof. Nolan makes it 4-1.
And we might see Dior Charles come back into this set if that continues, because you have to make adjustments really quickly. They already have that double block set. It would have been an easy kill if they were able to throw that ball back. But Baker right now just doesn't have the sight that I feel like she normally has.
Crawford with a rocket that goes out of play. Leaning on the sophomore for Wake Forest.
It looks like she was able to take that little bit of a break she got at the end of the last set and really regroup. And that's a hard ball to hit. That's coming, again, geometrically from way behind your shoulder. It's a very unnatural move. So to get a kill on that's very impressive.
Crawford up to 15 kills, leading Wake tonight. Here's Shaffmaster. Wow, Farrell keeps that up. And now two of the best in the ACC go swing for swing. Torrance with a nice punch.
What a play. Oh!
And into the net. UNC up 5-2 in this race to 15.
This is not the time for Paige Crawford to back off. She got a great cross-court set, giving Carolina a free ball. You might survive that play, but it's just any great team is going to get a great swing. And then another non-aggressive play.
Service error into the net.
I think that's a huge sigh of relief.
27 combined errors tonight. It's been hard to serve.
You said 27 service errors.
Combined, yeah.
Wow.
UNC.
That's a whole set of service errors.
3-2 in 5 setters. Wake Forest is 4-3. Of course, they just met Sunday in 5, and Wake pulled it out. Thanks to a Dior Charles block to secure it.
Love seeing the scrappiness.
What a swing from Hampton, who's having herself a epic night. 9 kills off the bench.
And you have to remember, these teams watch a lot of film. They practice. They do, so much to prepare for these games. They didn't prepare for this player to come in and absolutely dominate. So Wake Forest kind of has to play it by ear to see how to play against her, and it's been very difficult.
Carney goes over the double and a nice shot in. So Ava Carney's up to 14 kills right behind Crawford.
This is a rotation Wake Forest is definitely going to want to stay in. You have your setter front row, 2 hitters. You can run the slide, you can run the 4, you can get kind of crafty, maybe even do something on the back row.
Oh my gosh, that is out. Wow, that was a great swing by Hampton.
I mean, that's got to be power swing of the night.
I don't mind that swing by Mike Shaw at all.
If I'm Wake Forest, wow, this is the, oh yeah.
Just out.
I mean, you're saying your prayers if you're on defense.
It leads to an ace. Big response here for Frankie and Wake Forest. And the push-up party is on.
And the push-up party is on. I'm telling you.
3 straight points for Wake Forest. There were 6 lead changes in the 5th set on Sunday. Barrett on the dump. Perfect timing from Zoe.
First time this entire match she has done that. And it worked. That was beautiful.
UNC has shifted into a 2-setter rotation the last 2 weeks, and Barrett proves why. Good
I know.
work there.
And they're 2 tall, athletic setters who could play at the net, but I think it just gives them more versatility to have that right side.
Carney on a disjointed return. The free ball is kept up by Babick, and Hampton takes target.
Wow. I love seeing how electric Hampton is.
That's 10 kills for the freshman.
And that'll be a switch of sides.
We'll take
and a break.
time out. Entertaining 5th set here in Winston. At home though, Haley, they've had 2 5-setters. Georgia Tech, a tough loss, and Louisville got reverse swept. They've been in this spot before.
They are not a fan, I would imagine, of the 5th sets. This is not the situation you want to be in on a Friday night with the crowd full on senior night and with your NCAA bid for the first time in program history, as we've said so many times tonight, hanging in the balance, because that's really what you're playing for.
Carney goes off hands. Let's see if Hampton gets involved. She is so tall, touches everything, and gets hands in the net.
And we were talking earlier about Wake Forest players who can touch really high, touching 10-5, right? You can dunk a basketball at that height, but she's getting up even higher, and that makes it really difficult for the Wake Forest blocking defense to adjust.
Nice serve by Babick over the net. UNC now in system with May. Carney. Good fight from the Tar Heels. Better save by
What
Torrance.
a dig!
And Crawford hits it in.
Torrance's defense and her serve receive on both of those high pressure points is absolutely outstanding, phenomenal. Wow. She has been absolutely clutch for the Deacons.
9-7 in this race to 15. Hampton through the double and over it. 12 kills for Safi Hampton.
I know I've talked about spreading the offense, but at this point, I would be setting her until my or her fingers fell off.
She's hitting over Dior Charles, who's a great blocker.
Yeah.
Farrell has to punch it over. Babick now in system. Miggins off the block.
Wow, it's still up.
Good play.
What a play.
Play continues. And that goes out off the net. Point Wake Forest. Big break.
Shaffmaster, she's going for that 4-4 shot. The real place she's had a lot of success is when she's able to throw that thumb down and basically hit at the other outside hitter. It takes the other outside hitter out of the play. It kind of causes confusion between the outside hitter and the libero. But when it's not there, it's not there.
Shaffmaster. How
Wow.
he touches in.
Almost hit Coach Smart.
Nice hands from the all-conference outside.
Again, what I love is she's doing different things because her typical stuff just hasn't been clicking tonight as much as usual for whatever reason.
And that completely shocked Randy Smart.
Which, again, completely shocked Randy Smart. but she's finding a way to fight through it, and that's truly what separates good players from great players.
Ashley Slater with the kill for Wake Forest. She now has 10. Third team in Deacon in double figures.
We love our double figures. And a sub, actually, after that big kill by Slater, we see
It's Audrey Douglas
coming in, who is a senior.
And Randy Smart noted Douglas's play in the 5th set helped Wake pull out that match. Had a couple of kills and
So maybe it's a good luck thing. I love how deep the Wake Forest bench is. They have a lot of really great alternate players.
What a battle here in set 5. Carolina's won the last 2 sets. Shaffmaster into the block. Frankie with the root.
And we all of a sudden have a 1-point volleyball game, really a race to 5 at this point. Let's take another look at this insane block.
Timeout, UNC.
Olivia Frankie in it. And this is, Carolina really needs to get around these rotations because they've already gone through the rotations that have Safi Hampton up front.
Emma Farrell to serve. Middle. That is out, but a touch at the net. Point UNC.
And then Slater is back, so it looks like Douglas was a sort of defensive substitution, which for those who might not be as versed in volleyball, playing defense, technically a block, even though it feels offensive, it's in the front row, it's technically defense.
And now Zoe Barrett re-enters to serve and set. Farrell on the bump. Crawford blasting long, no touch. And UNC's 2 points from the match.
And this might be a timeout moment.
Forcing a timeout.
And a timeout moment for the Demon Deacons.
What must Carolina do here to close out this set?
I would be prepared for the weird. I would be prepared for the standing dump. Paige Crawford, I've noticed when things get tight, she's incredibly talented outside. And you're going to have to make somebody a right side, or you're going to have to push somebody to do some, sit and only go in when there's a problem. I mean, it's a great problem to have, but she's definitely forcing the coach to make some decisions.
Wake needs a point. They feed their middle and system. Nice swing by Frankie.
Hey, I'm all for a perfect pass in a pressureful situation. Running the middle, that's beautiful.
Wake Forest counting their subs, having to use a bunch in this 5th set. Here's Ava Torrance in to serve. Shaffmaster, off hands, match point, Carolina.
What a turn of events, and Shaffmaster being the one to go behind the line.
Timeout, Wake Forest.
Is definitely, this has got to be script written. I wish they would have given me the script.
Shaffmaster was hitting negative 200 in the first 3 sets and his
standard deviation, because a lot of times consistency is better than genuinely being the best person on the team. If you're somebody that they can depend on, they know what your highs and what your lows are, you're most likely going to be on the court.
These teams spent an entire week re-watching a 5-set thriller that was 16-14. Now they're right back in the same equation.
Absolutely, and this is a really fun matchup that we have here in serve receive. So we have the 3 best defenders maybe in the whole ACC. They're pulling back a 4th, Paige Crawford. You have Shaffmaster, one of the best servers in the ACC, historically one of the best servers as well, year over year.
It's match point for Carolina. Into the net. The match continues.
And the crowd erupts. I think everybody wearing black and gold have a slight sigh of relief. I must have jinxed Shaffmaster. I've been doing a lot of jinxing tonight.
This is do or die for Paige Crawford. Match point number 2.
This is absolutely the time to make your serve.
UNC to swing for the match. Hampton does it! What a performance off the bench, and the Tar Heels reverse sweep Wake Forest.
What an exciting turn of events